Welcome to SF Commercial Property Conversations with Bruce Bean, where Bay Area investments meet expert insights. Get ready to unlock the strategies of commercial real estate success.
So today we've got Ethan Bronson with us, and Ethan is coming to us, well, originally from kind of the mid-California world of Cal Poly, but now he's in Arizona. So Ethan, it's great to have you. I'd kind of just love to hear your history of how you got into the Central Coast world and real estate there. So let us know.
Yeah, so I originally grew up in Lodi, California, smaller ag-focused community, especially in vineyards for wine grapes. My parents actually met at Cal Poly, so I was actually pretty hesitant to think even about going to Cal Poly just because my parents were going there. And then I finally went and checked it out myself, and I was like, wow, it's pretty amazing. So I ended up going to Cal Poly. I played football there for 5 years. Loved my time playing football and studying agricultural business. Dealt with some knee injuries, so for that reason, I'm happy I'm done playing, but I still miss it. Yeah, and I just moved to Arizona. Give a little background on how I ended up with Central Commercial Group. I met Hank through Buddy, who Hank is very active into pickleball, as a lot of people are these days.
Oh, okay.
So met him through Buddy, and my buddy knew I was interested in doing commercial real estate, and ended up having coffee with him, and it just clicked from the beginning. So that's kind of how I ended up with Central Commercial Group, Cal Poly, and yeah.
So Central Commercial Group, tell us a little bit about what you do there.
Yeah, so I just got my license probably about 3 months ago now. And I'm primarily focused on vineyards, agricultural properties, a little bit in the restaurant industry as well. Give some background on my family as well. So I'm a fourth generation in the vineyard management industry. My family farms close to about 20,000 acres throughout California. Half they manage for other clients and half they own. Napa, Lodi, Clarksburg, Santa Maria, Monterey County, a good chunk of California. So it's been kind of throughout my entire life. I remember especially with getting picked up from school with my mom during harvest season. We'd have to go drop off sugar tags, and I would always be so upset because I just wanted to go home after school and have to drop off paperwork during the middle of harvest. So it's been really ingrained in my life, and I'm super happy that I studied agricultural business and still be involved in the ag industry.
So the wine world, the vineyard world, is in a little bit of turmoil right now. So what's happening there?
Yeah, just a tad. I think there's a wide variety of things happening right now. I kind of attribute it, a little bit to my generation as well as just the economics of it. I think a lot of wineries have kind of priced people out. Everybody feels like they need to create the most expensive and unique wine out there. But in all reality, I think there's a lot of great bottles of wine out there for 10, 15, 20 bucks that are just as good as the $100 bottles of wine. And speaking about, my generation and even millennials a little bit too, a lot of them have gotten sober curious, I would say. They kind of starting to steer away from alcohol or finding alternatives. I know especially like 2017 to 2020, there was a big push for like seltzers, and now it's more in like the cannabis industry. So I think people are just trying to find different alternatives, because there once was a time where, that report that came out probably 10 or 15 years ago now, that the doctor said that, a glass of red wine is good for heart health, and then kind of gone back on that since 2020. So I think there's a variety of reasons, but wine's been around for thousands and thousands of years. I think eventually it will turn the corner and we'll be just all right.
So what's that doing to you in terms of commercial real estate? Are you selling a lot of vineyards right now, or are they for sale? Are prices coming down? What's happening with that world?
There's a good amount of people that are looking to sell. The toughest part right now is trying to find a buyer, whether they're going to continue to pursue that as a vineyard focused property, or are they going to rip out the vines. You hear a lot of people say, there's so many vineyards being ripped out right now because wine's not selling, which is true. But I also think too, like, there was a big craze to plant a bunch of vineyards in the late 90s. And I think there was just a little bit too much of planting, a little overplanting happening. And vines really have their peak yield after like 20, 25 years. So once that mark has been hit, they don't be producing as much, then it's not as cost effective to have them out. So I don't think, those vines getting ripped out, people selling their property necessarily has to do with, wine not being sold. I think it was just poor decision making in the 90s that kind of led to, all these things being happening. But I would say we're definitely more in a buyer's market right now.
So when they're ripping out a vineyard, what are they replacing it with?
Right now, there's a wide variety of things happening. I've seen quite a few farmers going to other alternatives, a lot of more nuts, especially like pistachios. Pistachios are really big right now, especially with those, not as water intensive. And that's a great thing in California, trying to find something. Because, we're not as much of an issue with water these days, but, 10 years ago, people were getting pretty worried, and, we just didn't have the rain that we did. Some people are replanting, going to different varietals, especially in Lodi. We're seeing a big swing in Italian varietals come just because the climates match so well together. It really just depends on the part of California, and what they're trying to do with the property.
Well, so climate change is obviously starting to affect vineyards. Vineyards in Oregon are becoming much more popular just because they have a little more water.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are some vines that use a little less water, and maybe people are starting to move to that type of grape, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's kind of the Oregon wines, you're really starting to hit more French varietals, in my opinion. Those have always been super popular, especially Bordeaux blends, Rhone Valley blends. So yeah, I mean, and talking about climate change, like a big thing, kind of the 2020 area too was smoke taint. We had a bunch of fires in California, especially up in Chico, and then kind of went down to like Monterey area. And there was a lot of vines and wine that couldn't be sold. They just have to throw them away because smoke taint levels are too high and you can't make wine out of that. So I think it's a variety of different issues in climate.
Did you ever watch the movie series Drops of Gold?
I have not.
Well, how's your nose? How are you for smelling wine and so forth?
I love it actually, and I actually right behind me right here. I've level 2 sommelier, but that's really just out of passion. I've really gotten into tasting wine, how the winemaking process is, because my family's been in the vineyard management business, but as soon as they pick the grapes and it's on the truck, like that's off of our hands. They don't make any wine themselves. At the moment, they're actually building a winery right now, but the second half of the process has always been fascinating to me, and I think there's so many different unique pieces of wine that you can really pick out, and the pairing process has always been cool to me. So
what's the most difficult part about managing a vineyard?
I'd say probably right now, labor. I think labor's been a big one. Just finding labor within California has been tough. There's different programs that help you out with that, like the H-2A program. I don't know how familiar you are with those, but basically bring in labor from outside of the United States, oftentimes a lot in South America. But those programs can be expensive because they actually get treated a lot better than domestic labor, because they have to pay them like, I want to say like 20 or 25% higher wages. They have to house them. They have to feed them every meal.
Wow.
Those are just temporary programs. So they're only here for about, anywhere from 3 months to 10 months, and then they go home. But it does incredible things for their communities. My family's been invited a few times to go out to some of those countries, and they've been able to, revitalize those communities outside of the United States. So that's really cool to see.
Well, and I assume that the current administration's breaking or, work with immigrants is not helping the wine community very much.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's probably a little too early to tell. I think once harvest really gets going, you'll probably be able to tell. But yeah, I'm sure that it's probably not going to help. So it's kind of just a wait and see scenario.
And are tariffs affecting the wine world? What's happening with that?
Yeah, so I think the wine. So I went to the Unified Symposium back in January. It's basically a combination of the California Wine Grape Growers Association, which is a big lobbying group for a bunch of wine growers throughout California, and they also provide a bunch of resources for them, as well as the American Viticultural and Enology Association. They have a big trade show. It's like 3 football fields long in Sacramento.
Oh,
And
wow.
they have a bunch of speakers that come in and talk about, these very issues that we're talking about, because there's no simple answer to it.
Yeah.
Uh,
So very difficult.
I think one of the biggest things, especially when this administration was getting started, was the tariffs were kind of looming over, were Italian and French wines, because, those are nearly some of the most popular wines to be imported. Are California wines and Washington and Oregon wines, are they going to lower their price? Are they going to stay just as high? So I think there's still a lot of speculation. I think still it's probably a little too early to tell whether that's going to be impacted. I mean, I think it's really too hard to tell, because I think some people kind of have this fascination about European wine, and that's the only thing go out and get. I'm always an advocate for California wine. I think that's where the best wine's made. So regardless of tariffs, I say go out and drink California wine, because I think that's where the best wine is.
All right. Okay. I got to be an advocate for sure. Yeah. Well, you're managing a lot of acres, so that makes sense. Absolutely. So, well, I think we could talk about this. So, what do you think? What's your crystal ball thinking that maybe in a year or two the wine world will come back, or what are you thinking?
I think it probably will be a little bit longer for that.
Yeah.
In all reality, it's probably going to be 5, 10 years before we truly see what's going to happen, because we still are in the middle of vineyards being replanted or ripped out. And I think also, just to tie it into commercial real estate, I think we're really going to start to see a lot of turnover just from baby boomers, either passing it down to their sons, or their sons and daughters, or their grandchildren, or just selling it in general. So I think there's just going to be a lot of change in general, and can't really predict what's going to happen.
Are there some vineyards that are having to go, give their property back to the bank?
Yeah, I haven't seen a bunch of that firsthand. I'm sure it is happening. I think you're seeing a lot of small winemakers, boutique wineries that are trying to figure out what they're going to do. Are they going to put more capital investment to try to get them up to a level that can sustain themselves, or are they going to stay at that boutique level and try to make it through this? And I think you're even seeing it at the mid-tier wineries, that still produce a lot of wine, but they're not, some of the big dogs in Napa Valley, because they're trying to figure out, are we going to stay a smaller winery? Are they going to stay a big one? Because the middle ground is just really not somewhere you can market yourself all the time.
Right. You got to be big or small, and when you're in the middle, you probably get crunched.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's a middle-size vineyard?
I would say, oh man, I'm trying to think of something that you would know up in like San Francisco area. Because
Well, no, I'm just thinking of acreage. Is 30
oh,
acres a small one, or what size would that be?
I would say anywhere from 100 to
Oh,
1,000.
okay. All
Yeah,
right. So the big guys are above 1,000 and the small guys are under 100.
a couple hundred to 1,000, I would say the big
Yeah.
winery.
Yeah. So if you're in that middle ground, you're kind of caught between a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean it's hard for me to watch, because that's where some of my favorite wines come from, is
Yeah.
the wineries, and my family's always been a big part of those. I mean, they've helped super big wineries all the way down to a couple acres.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, just for fun, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food, I would probably say somewhere in the Mexican food realm. I think Lodi has great Mexican food. Um, and if you wanted me to pick one, I'd probably say tacos. But any Mexican food, I'm perfectly cool with.
And who in the world would you love to sit with and eat some tacos?
I would probably say Walt Disney. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but I've just had a deep appreciation for the Disney parks and what he was able to do. One of my, I think, proudest essays that I wrote in college was about the horticulture in Disney. This was kind of a very unique topic, and I think he and all the other Imagineers that he had just had a very unique view of the world, and they were able to craft it into a very appealing park for rides itself. But I always appreciated Disneyland for the architecture and the landscape architect of it all.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but yeah, you're right. I mean, they have incredible horticulture at the Disney parks. Huh, yeah. Have you been to the Disney History Museum in San Francisco in the Presidio?
I'm ashamed to say I have not actually. I've been wanting to go for a very long time, and when I lived in Lodi, I'm not that far from it, like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'm not, but I will get there one day.
Well, when you're up this way, be sure it is. It surprised me how cool it is. I mean, it looks like a small building that they're in, but it goes on forever. It's quite amazing, and they
Yeah.
have all the old models, and
Mhm.
it's pretty fantastic. So
Yeah, I always get emails from them saying that they got this cool exhibit in. I'm like, man, I wish I could just drop everything. You know?
well, now you're in Arizona. You're a little far away, but
Yeah,
anyway,
it only gets a little harder.
next time you're up here, give me a holler, and we'll go over and take a look at it.
Absolutely.
That'd be cool. All right. Well, great to have you. Where can people get a hold of you if they want to know more about the wine world, about vineyards, about Central Coast commercial, all those things?
Yeah, so you can check us out on our website, centralcommercialgroup.com. We've got a podcast going as well. Bruce, I'd love to have you on sometime. We're doing some cool stuff on there. We interviewed the president of COG, so you can check it out on our YouTube channel, Central Commercial Group. We also have our Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can check us out all there. And if you ever have a property that you want to sell in the Central Coast or throughout California, either myself or somebody else on our team can help you out. You also check out my phone number, 209-452-5028.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, let's be in touch.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much, Bruce. It's a pleasure to meet you.
That's a wrap on today's journey through the SF commercial real estate scene. Ready to share your story? Visit sfcommercialconversations.com/guest. Your insights could lead the next conversation.